Hello and welcome to the 90s Nightmares podcast. In this episode, we're playing hockey on the 13th floor. Let's go.
Let's go.
The 90s Nightmares podcast.
Oof.
I forget which episode number this is of the Are You Afraid of the Dark Season 2. I don't know if you noticed or not, Booze, but the IMDb order and the Paramount Plus order, way off.
Yeah, they are. I noticed that. Like, I remember when you, back before, I'm thinking during season 1, where we'd be like, hey, we're going to do episode, whichever, 8 this time. And I'm like, which one is that? Just because the IMDb and, Paramount Plus is way off because some episodes from season 1 are in season 2 on Paramount Plus. And I'm like, you kind of have to sift through it a little bit to get there. Which
This one's particularly off. I want to say on IMDb it's like episode 3 of season 2. I'm losing track.
Yeah,
but
that sounds right though.
On Paramount Plus, it's like deep. It's like halfway into season 2, and I'm like, oh my god, I felt like I was missing something.
Right. I know.
It's the tale of the 13th floor.
It is. It sure is.
I liked this one.
Yeah, I was kind of in the middle of the road. Didn't hate it. Wasn't like overwhelmingly blown away by it. This is definitely not one that I was like really resounding from like remembering it as a kid. That's for sure. I don't really remember this one at all.
Me neither.
It's I don't know. Like I said, it was middle of the road for me. It wasn't bad, wasn't good. But I mean, if you're good to go, we can get right into it. I got my notes all ready and everything.
Let's do it, man. Take us up.
Okay. So, per usual, like in every episode in our introduction, we start off with, something going on around the campfire, and in this one, it's no different. We have 3 of the members, kind of like, it looks to me like they're like stalking firewood or something like that, getting ready for the spooky story time, and then Frank says something to the effect of, does it always feel like to you, or does it feel like to you guys are, or I can't remember how he phrased it. Something about, it always feels like I'm being watched or something like that. Or in the moment, he feels like he's being watched, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the gang, I think, comes in with like flashlights and like holding them over their faces so you can't really see it. It's kind of blurred. And then they keep shining it on, I think it's Frank, Kiki, and Gary, who are all stacking firewood. And they go into this whole spiel about, that there's strangers among us and things like that. And you never really know who you're talking to or something to that effect. I was trying to think I was going to ask you something, but I've already forgotten what it was.
It'll come to you.
Maybe it'll come back.
No, my answer is probably yes.
Yes. And then not too long after that, we pretty much jump straight into the episode, and we meet our pretty much our main characters for the story, which is Billy and Karen. And they're in an old renovated building, and the 13th floor is empty because the last tenants vanished into thin air. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Gus, I believe, was his name, the elevator operator.
That was Gus. I don't know if you remember or not, but he also played the mailman in the tale of the...
Oh, yes. Yep.
The one with the vampires?
That's right. Yep, that's right. Now, when you were a kid and in your formative years, do you ever remember hearing things about like 13th floors of like hospitals and things like that? And because I'm almost positive like on hospitals, they don't have, you can't like actually get on an elevator and get on a 13th floor, right?
It's electronically blocked off, or it's just for storage or something.
Yeah, something like that, something to that effect. But
I don't think I picked up on that until I was like, I'm just going to guess middle school. Before I realized the lore of like, yeah, the 13th floor exists, but it's either you can't get to it, or it's really the 14th floor.
Yeah.
They just don't have a 13th floor.
They just don't have one. Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. And moving on. So the 2 kids, Karen and Billy, they live on the 12th floor, and they're always playing up on the 13th floor because it's completely empty, and it looks like pretty much right away they let you know that Frank is like a kind of like a jock or a sports guy. He's good at everything, and Karen's not good at sports and not good at all the things that he wants to play. And at one point, she even calls him a zipperhead, which made me laugh.
Yeah, dude, that was such a good 90s zinger right there,
Yeah,
man.
those
No, you
zingers,
zipperhead.
man. Being a zipperhead, and I was like, oh, okay, definitely gotta write that one down.
I'm so glad you did. She misses the slap shot 3 times in a row, and then eventually she breaks something.
Yeah.
And then she says something about Billy's jeans, and she's like, "What?" He goes,
He's like,
"What
what
do my
about my
jeans
blue
have to do with it?" Not your blue
Yeah.
jeans, you zipperhead.
Yeah, you zipperhead. I think not long after she hits like a glass pane or something like that, these purple lights kind of stream throughout, and the fixtures on the walls and the light fixtures start shaking, and they quickly hit the button for the elevator to go back down. And this is where they meet Leonid, I think was his name.
Leonid.
Gus is already gone. He had to go. Leonid says something to the effect of he had to go away. I don't remember exactly what he said. Something about Gus having to leave, basically, and now Leonid's taken over.
A few things I like about this scene in particular is Leonid.
Yeah.
We've seen him before too. He was in the Tale of the Midnight Mayhem.
Oh, yeah.
He
And
was
I'm almost
Nosferatu.
positive that that's that one dude that played in Supernatural as well.
Yeah, he's been in Supernatural.
Yeah, because he looked super familiar, and I was trying to place him, and then I was like, oh, duh, that's where it is.
I seen him.
I seen you
And
before.
the two other things that I wanted to point out about the first 5 minutes of the story is it sounded so 90s to me. And
Yeah.
I was trying the music, and I was trying to figure out like what is it that just makes this sound so 90s, and it's the flute. It's the overuse of the flute in the first couple
see that.
minutes when they're like just goofing around and talking about how she's adopted and everything, and it's just so whimsical.
That is kind of a common theme, isn't it?
The flute.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the whole 90s thing. When like, yeah.
I was watching what's that show with the dog from the 90s? And he's a detective.
Yeah. Shit.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, Dad
but
Brain.
like that intro is all flute, and like most of the music is just flute as well, and that's just that's the instrument that carries the entire show.
For
musically,
sure.
at least.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And it is definitely a running theme in a lot of those early 90s shows for sure.
that was a cool unlock for me. And then the other thing too is they were up there for like 4 minutes, dude. From the time they started playing hockey until they get to meet Leonid.
Yeah, it was so fast.
4 minutes, and then in that time it was just like orchestrated so nice. It must have been because they had the lights go off and all the fixtures start falling and breaking, and then Gus is gone. That 4 minutes, dude.
Maybe, I don't know if it's just me either, but it feels like this episode, I wouldn't say is rushed, but each scene feels very rushed. It just feels like they're just going boom, 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 back to back to back to back to back. Like, we're here. It's never really like kind of like going or at a slower pace enough to kind of get comfortable or whatever, because I always felt like we were just already on to the next scene. Like, it was really, really fast paced.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing for you?
I don't know. I guess a lot of the time there's not really much else to be told within that scene, so I guess there's not really any point in lingering, but it still felt kind of rushed in a way. Or maybe it was just me, I don't know. But either way, you meet Leonid, and instead of taking the elevator back down 4 minutes later, they just end up taking the stairs. And this is when we like cut to Karen sleeping in her TV, sleeping, and her TV just kind of turns on. She assumes that she's dreaming, and I don't remember exactly. Maybe you remember. I don't think the guy appears on the TV, but I don't think he says anything the first time. Right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he does. He goes, "Hello, Karen."
Oh yeah, he does. Yep, you're right.
Very robotic, and then she goes, "Is this a dream?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he goes, "What do you think?"
What do you
And then
think?
then she lays back down and he disappears.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That was right. Okay, and then right after that, we cut back to the next day. Karen and Billy attempt to go back on the 13th floor again. And I think they try to use the elevator, and Leonid tells them that the new tenants are fumigating. So then he says, going down, which every time he said that made me laugh. They say no, and then boom, we're on to the next scene already. And this is where both kids are like riding into the building on their bikes. Karen keeps talking about how she keeps having this reoccurring dream, which we just saw her have. And as she's telling this to Billy, he's opening up the mailbox, and this is where he finds an invitation to, he gives the piece of mail to Karen that was directed towards her, which turns out to be an invitation to a company called, was it the Toy Factory? Yes, the Toy Factory. And you can come anytime tomorrow. It's apparently they want to test out new toys and sports equipment on kids. And she's not really sure if she's interested in going.
She sucks, dude.
Yeah.
At sports. She's probably good at the flute.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's got no interest in learning.
They mentioned sports equipment there. She's like, no, I'm out.
There's one other quick thing that I wanted to mention here in this scene is when she says to Billy that she's been having this recurring dream. Billy he throws out the quickest, zappiest bit of backstory that they just gloss right over. He goes, "Is it the one about you flying through outer space?"
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they just don't even bring any more attention to that whatsoever.
Right, but we as listeners or watchers, we don't know that that's informative, you know?
Right.
Until after you watch it for the fourth time in a row and you're like, oh, I get it.
Now I get it. Now that I've seen this all the way through. Where were we here? Okay. And then we cut. Next scene is Karen asleep again. TV turns on once more. The man on the screen really wants her to come tomorrow. He makes that very known. Like, we really want you to come tomorrow. And I think whether she was intending on actually doing or not, I feel like in the moment she seems like she's just agreeing so that the guy will F off and she can go back to sleep. And that's pretty much what happens. He kind of like takes her at her word, and then TV turns off. She goes back to sleep. And we're off to the races again because now scene changes once more. And now Billy and Karen are upstairs, or heading up the stairs to the 13th floor. And now once they get onto the floor this time, the floor is now like completely renovated. Like, it has these pink and blue and yellow and green walls and these other like odd fixtures. It's got the Toy Factory logo and then these conveyor belts with like these small animals going by. That color scheme too is just so damn 90s too.
Yes, I was just thinking that. Absolutely.
Yeah, was it not? Like,
yeah.
The whole time I was looking at it, that's all I could think about. It was just like, that's so 90s. And then Olga introduces herself. And this is one of the Toy Factory workers, or whatever you want to call it. She claimed that they only needed one test subject and that Billy is free to go. Thanks for dropping her off, but you can head out now. Peace. But eventually she relents because it seems like, I can't remember if it was Karen or Billy that really put the hammer down. Like, no, I can't do, I think it was Karen said something to the effect of, I can't do this without Billy, or I'm not doing this without Billy. So Olga eventually relents and just allows Billy to stay as well.
She's not happy about it though. She's pissed.
No, Olga's not happy about it at all.
She's like
very, very upset.
Visibly disappointed, dude.
Yeah. And she leads them to a room where this is where we meet Raymond, who was the dude that was visiting Karen on her TV at night. And Raymond asked them to play. Well, I like this. I think this is when they enter this room and you get to see all these buttons and all this kind of cool stuff that they got all over. If there's one thing I did like about this episode, it was that whole aesthetic that they had going on with all like the games and stuff like that with the buttons and the lights and all that. It was kind of similar to that one episode that we watched, and I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but that really the weird kid, the with the pictures.
Yeah, Peter with
Peter and his like little lab or whatever he had going on up in his. It reminded me a lot of that episode.
The Tale of the Captured Souls.
Yes, there you go. You got it.
Yeah, in his little in his secret, back
little
bedroom
Dexter's
lair.
lab.
His Dexter's lab.
Yeah.
All smoky and everything's metallic and it's just weird buttons. Yep.
For sure.
Got it.
And
you like that shit.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. I definitely do. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Raymond asked them to play a coordination game, and it's basically just like a matching type of thing. I'm going to press these buttons that coordinate to these sounds, and then you just have to mimic them and repeat them to me. Billy gets it first, and Karen doesn't.
Of course.
Get it, because we already, as we talked about earlier, Billy's good at everything, and Karen's not good at anything. But really quickly, the tables kind of start to turn, and Karen starts getting really good at it. And Billy starts kind of like fumbling with it, and he seems to start getting like tired or exhausted every time Raymond would go over and take that wheel and spin it a couple of notches or whatever. And we're not really sure what the hell that is or what that means, but every time he turns it, Billy seems to get tired, but Karen doesn't.
One thing I do know about that wheel is that the lights don't match up with how far he's turning it.
Yes.
No continuity on that wheel.
Like, wait. Something's off here. Yeah, that did bother me too. I'm like, it's stupid, but it's actually a lot. Yeah, those types of little things annoy the hell out of me. I don't know why, but they do. Okay, here we go. Raymond basically says, because they do a couple of rounds and Karen just keeps getting better and Billy's only getting worse. So he tells Billy, okay, you keep practicing and I'm going to take Karen and we're going to move on to the next game. And this is when the scene changes and it's Leonid and Olga talking about how they have to leave right at 6. And they keep kind of like, she has that boy with her. We're not sure what we're going to do. But we do know we have to leave right at 6, and I can't remember exactly what time they said it was, but it was crunch time. It was getting pretty close, at least I think within the last hour or something like that.
I think it was like 5:40.
Yeah, there you go.
I think they showed a clock, and it looked like it was 5:40 or so.
Okay. And then Karen takes a seat in, it almost looks like a roller coaster type chair.
Oh, yeah, she gets buckled in from the top.
Yeah, she gets buckled in from the top where the bar or whatever comes in front of her. And Raymond says that they're going to stimulate her brain, and so she could reach her full potential soon, whatever that means. And then he has her stare at the ball and move it with your mind. So there's like this, one of those, like, I vaguely remember those balls too, having like tons of those things, and it's like over like a little air, like I don't know if how do you think they did that? How do you think they moved that ball? I think it looked like there was like a little like air vent or something like that underneath it that was just blowing it up in the air.
100%,
Yeah.
It was on like some sort of air conditioning upwards unit.
Yeah.
And they just like flipped the switch and then
just
I think that's how they did it.
Yeah.
Or maybe she used her mind powers. I don't know.
Maybe she did use her mind powers in this.
I don't know.
She does it pretty quickly. She figures it out and moves the ball around and has pretty much no issue doing so. And this is when Raymond drops this one on. He says something like, "We have a surprise for you, and we're all going on a trip." And then that's when he turns the wheel like another notch, and Billy gets even more tired. And he says, once you reach your medium capacity, we will transfer you to the ship. Then that's when Raymond pulls. That's when he pulls off his mask or whatever that he was wearing off of his face. It looks very similar to the shape and forms of all the masks from the episode, the mask in Goosebumps. I
Yeah,
don't know why it reminded me a lot of those, but it definitely did when he pulled that off. Just because it was like just the shape and like how big it was, and he looks like Slender Man. That's what I wrote down, because he looks very similar to Slender Man when he took that off. I don't know why that was what I saw, but it was.
Yeah, like a 5'8" Slender Man.
yeah.
Sure.
He pulls a switch. The chair that she's in starts to rise, and this hatch above her opens up, and these more looking Slender Men at the top are just kind of like at the top of it. It looks like they're like swimming or something. Like, I don't even know what they're doing the whole time. It was that, I don't know why that made me laugh pretty hard, because they just did that the entire time.
I didn't get Slender Man vibes from this. I got Putty Patrol vibes.
Okay.
Especially when you got to see all of them just like doing this stuff together. You just imagine like a
yeah, I definitely get that too. I was laughing when I saw them up there doing that the entire time. Where was I at?
She was rising above. She was going up, and we get to see that portal like trifold up. How many notes did you take? God dang.
These pages that I have are pretty short or pretty small, so I filled them in very quickly. She ends up using like the newfound powers that she just found out that she has to stop it and free. I think she like used it to hit the buttons that Raymond had hit, basically to stop it, freeze it, and then the hatch closes again and the dancing aliens at the top disappear. She freezes. I don't remember if you, or I don't know if you remember how she exactly did this one, but she freezes Raymond completely to the point where he's just like completely still. And I don't remember what she did exactly to get him to freeze that first time. I remember the next time or the next couple of times, but do you remember what she did?
Well, this first time, I don't know. She eventually finds a remote and she just pauses him.
Yeah, I remember that, and I couldn't remember what it was that first time that she did. But
if it wasn't the remote, then I think it was just her mind powers straight up.
Okay,
I think she just learned so quickly. She was just like student becomes the master.
On top of it, Johnny on the spot for sure.
Boom! Thanks for teaching me how to move a ball. Now I can pause you.
I can do it all. Yeah. She escapes into one of the vents in the wall to go get help, and that's when Olga comes back in, puts the atmosphere pressure back on, and then Raymond goes back to normal, and he quickly finds Karen, and it felt like a Scooby-Doo chase ensued, where she was like kind of like running from room to room and down the hall, and Raymond's there no matter where she goes. And then she uses her powers once again, and this time kind of like, I don't know if those were just like the ceiling tiles or something in that room that all fall on top of Raymond. And
those like textured, jagged
like things,
upside down
whatever
mountains.
the hell those are. Yeah. She uses her powers again to drop them on Raymond, and then she escapes back into the same room she was just in, and this is where she grabs that game controller that you mentioned earlier, which she presses pause on Ray once again, and now she makes an attempt to leave through the elevator, and when she does that, she tries to, or when the elevator opens up, Leonid's there again, and she tries to use the remote on Leonid, but it doesn't work on him. And I think he says something like, "We're not all robots, Karen," or something like that. And She ends
I
up
would like
just-
to be Leonid's friend.
Yeah, me too. I think everybody. I think Leonid was my favorite. Just so nonchalant, so charismatic. Just yeah,
Just is what it is. And it
Yeah.
was cool to see him again from just a few episodes ago.
right.
You know what, dude? Here's something that I learned. Everybody in this episode, this couple things, man. This was like low budget gateway horror, like at its best, man. Because there was only six characters in the whole show. I think
You're right.
Billy, Karen, Ray, Olga, Leonid, Gus,
Yep.
and we only see like Gus and Leonid probably did their entire scenes in a day.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure they're like their scenes in total. There wasn't very many. Like I feel like, what was it like the 13th floor, the elevator, the mail, wherever they're getting their mail at. Like I feel like they're the whole whatever you want to call it.
Like four sets.
Yeah, their 4 sets are like very limited too. I feel like they saved some money on this, or maybe they needed to save some money because probably wouldn't, or maybe they spent a bulk of their budget on probably the set for the 13th floor, the toy factory or whatever, to the point where, hey, we're going to have very limited actors in this and scenes and yeah, maybe it could just be, I don't know.
The relationship between another thing I wanted to say too was out of all 6 of these characters that we saw, only one of them hadn't been in an episode before or doesn't come back again, and that's Billy, Aaron Ashmore.
Really?
Yeah, Karen comes back, Olga comes back, Ray comes back in a couple of episodes. Gus was the mailman, Leonid was Nosferatu.
Right.
So it's just weird to see that like 1 out of every 6 people don't come back.
I wonder what that is. I mean, or what? Obviously, it could vary and be damn near anything, but still.
Well, the dude stayed acting. He ended up in a show called Warehouse 13. Oddly enough,
Okay. I don't know if I remember that show or not. Doesn't ring a bell.
I never watched it. It was probably on like Sci-Fi, but just the fact that
Okay.
it was Warehouse 13,
Yeah.
and he was on the 13th
13th
floor.
That is kind of funny. Nice
Dude's got a
weird
thing.
connection. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh,
Billy.
and the relationship between Olga and Raymond, she's so like endearing and like patient with him. She can tell
Yeah,
she's
she is.
pissed.
She is.
No less than 3 times in this episode, she goes, Raymond, not again.
I know. She's definitely not having it.
No, but she lets him slide every time. That's cool.
Every time.
She just fixes it. And then she goes to disappear for a couple of minutes. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Right after it happens, every single time, she's like, all right, I'm going to leave the room again.
Yeah, dude. Team up a little bit.
Yeah, right? I know. So Karen, instead of taking the elevator, like, obviously because Leonid was on it, she ends up taking the stairs. And once she's back downstairs, I think on the 12th floor where she lives at, she sees that there's a verbal command on the remote, this cue or button that she could use. And so she goes back up to the 13th floor, back to the toy factory, and uses the voice command, or the verbal command, I'm sorry, to command Raymond to grab Olga. So he just like walks up and just grabs he just walks up and grabs her.
And again, her reaction is just, oh, great.
Yeah, like Raymond.
Oh, Ray.
And then Leonid comes back in the scene again and tries to convince her once again, like, hey, we only have 30 seconds to lift off. And I don't remember verbatim what he said to her exactly. But I don't know if I'm trying to think if he said anything to like.
He monologues for like a couple minutes here, and it's good.
Yeah.
This would have got me. If I was Karen, I would have been like, okay, let's go. He
Yeah,
says something like, you can fly in the sky like a bird.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
you can see through to other worlds. And I don't know, maybe it's probably just a me thing, but like you could tell me that, you know, I could teleport if I went away somewhere, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
that's no, I'm still going to be late everywhere I go, even if I could
Right,
teleport.
right.
Or I could like
probably
read
would be too.
people's, you know, if you like took me away and I could read people's minds, I'd still be like, I don't care what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
But if you tell me I could fly, I'm in. I'm getting back in that elevator. I'm in that roller coaster chair, and I'm hitting the up button.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go up and hang out with some dancing aliens if I get to fly.
If I get to fly through the sky, dude, that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel pretty strongly
there's
about
something
that.
super appealing about that. I remember, you know, I'm sure you probably had the similar conversations as a kid with other friends around you. Like, if you could have one superpower, what would it be? I feel like almost 9 times out of 10, every time I would always choose flying, just because it sounded just like so much fun.
Magical.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty special.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want super strength. I don't want to be invisible or read minds. None of that shit.
No, just let me fly.
Put me up in the air.
Give me some wings, baby.
Some Red Bull.
Yeah. So after Leonid's kind of like monologue or whatever you want to call it, Billy and Karen go back downstairs to their apartment, and they look out the window and kind of basically watch the craft disappear. Or I guess that's pretty much what happens. It's pretty similar to what happened when the craft landed, even though we didn't know that's what was happening at the beginning of the episode, where the same pulsing and flashing purple lights and all the noises and stuff like that. And right after that happens, that's when Karen's TV turns on once more, but this time it's Olga, and she tells her that they left Karen here by mistake 10 years ago, and they can't return for another 10 years. And so that's when we, you know, it all kind of hits us a little bit, or at least it's starting to hit you, that the twist of the episode. And damn it, sorry, my watch is going off.
My 5:38 a.m. alarm is going off. Hold on.
You know,
Let me snooze that.
yep, birth control. Gotta take my birth control. And now, sorry, I lost my place again.
All good,
They
bro.
left Karen here by mistake 10 years ago, and they can't return for another 10 years ago. And now, when the camera pans over, Karen's looking like a little slender man herself, and Billy screams and runs out of the room. So there's our nice dun-dun-dun, our twist for the episode. So apparently she was one of them, and then that's when that whole scene that you talked about earlier with Billy, when he asked her about her reoccurring dream, if it was one of those ones where she was, you know, flying in outer space. That's where that line kind of makes sense.
A little sprout came up from that seed.
Right,
A little
exactly.
one. So, yeah, we get to learn that Karen is... Well, we knew that she was adopted. That was one of the first lines in the episode.
Yes.
But we get to find out that these aliens are mom and dad. But you know what I realized, dude? Karen looks more like Billy. Like, they could actually be siblings in real life if you told me that.
Yeah,
I would
can
believe
definitely
you.
see it.
Then she does look like Olga or Raymond at all.
Right. Raymond.
Raymond. Not again.
Not again. And we cap off the episode with heading back to the campfire, and Betty Ann. I forgot to mention at the top of this episode that Betty Ann is the one telling this story. She leaves us with a quote that says, "You may think you know someone, but think again and look a little closer." And I can't remember. I think that's all she said. And then that's when we get that nice little scene of everybody at the campfire kind of like taking glances at each other like, "Are you really who you are? Who I think you are?" Like that type of thing. And yeah, that's pretty much the episode. That's it. That's all. 13th floor.
I'm starting to like Betty Ann as a storyteller. She's got some good ones.
Yeah. What was another one that she did?
She
you
did
remember?
The vampire one from season 1.
Oh, that was her episode. Mm-hmm. I really love that episode. So
And I think Eric was his name, was dogging on her. Eric goes like, all your stories are lame, and they all just have happy endings. And she goes, all right, bitch, watch this.
Hold my beer.
Vampires are real.
Yeah, that was a really good episode. I think, like I said at the top of the episode too, didn't hate it. Wasn't like overly, in fact, probably won't be like one of my favorites, but there's definitely been worse episodes that were, at least for me, that have been hard to follow along with and or hard to pay attention to. This one wasn't too hard to pay attention to. It was fun for what it was, but it did really seem like fast paced, like really fast paced. I don't know why.
That was a big story to tell.
It was a lot, in 24 minutes or 20 minutes, however long it ended up being. But yeah, I'm trying to think.
Do you want to rate it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Out of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3.
2.5.
Oh, I almost went 2.52, but
yeah,
I bumped to 3. I think in the moment, yeah, the music was good. Like I said, it was all very flute heavy.
Yeah,
at least.
for sure. It was very fluty.
So fluty in the beginning, but then the music changed as soon as we got to see the weird purple lights, and it was all like that was going on. So the music was good, and it fit, and it made sense. Leonid was dope to watch. I got the story, on the first watch. It was cool. I think I liked the fast pace, and I liked the really 4 main characters that you had to follow, and I liked the 3 sets that they were limited to.
Right.
I liked all that, and I got towards about 80% of the way through, and I realized this is not scary. There's nothing
not
terrifying
really
happening. But then you got to remind yourself that Are You Afraid of the Dark is not a horror show. It's more than that.
No, it definitely is.
It's at its best when it is a horror show.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it thrives on kind of being unsettling and having twists and stuff like that more than actually just being downright scary or whatever you want to label it as.
Mm-hmm. This episode just had beat after beat and revelation after revelation.
Yeah.
I think it was paced. The parts that I liked about the episode were paced very well.
Yeah. I mean, again, not a bad episode, in my opinion. There's definitely been worse. There's definitely watched way, way worse. So,
are we going to talk about Hungry Hounds in every episode?
I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the Hungry Hounds episode, because I think that one's still, out of every episode that I've watched thus far, that one still is probably bottom tier for me.
Yeah, I'm mad at that one.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't bat 1,000 every time. They can't be all 1 out of 10s, right?
Not every time.
No.
That was a good one. I'm glad we watched that episode, man. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed that one. I was trying to watch it and take notes with my daughter, zooming around in her little walker thing, and eventually I had to just give up and wait till I put her down for a nap, because she just came up and the entire time was just trying to rip the pages off the book as I'm sitting there trying to write, and I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna happen. So
I ended up watching this on my lunch a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Again, I watched it 3 or 4 times, but
yeah, I try to watch each episode. If I don't watch it, I watched it again yesterday. But I like to have a refresher, because even though they're short and there's not really that much to each one of these episodes, there's a lot, those small moments you can definitely easily forget. So,
yep, like that. You mean the dream where you're flying through outer space like that?
Yeah.
If I didn't watch this 48 hours ago, that would have left me.
Exactly.
We did it, man. You got anything else?
I think that's it. That's all.
Another one.
Dun, dun, dun.
Cool, man. Well, let's end it. Thank you. Thank you for your time when hanging out with me doing the show, Booze.
Absolutely.
Listener, thank you for listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. Feel bad for you because you know what we look like now, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But review, all the good stuff, man.
All that good stuff.
See you soon for another one.
Absolutely. See you guys in the next one.